The morning the world cracked beneath him was the same morning the sun shone the brightest. Arvin Hale stood frozen at the doorway of his small rented house, gripping the final notice letter with trembling fingers. His landlord had given him 30 days to clear the overdue rent. 30 days he did not have, with a 7-year-old son who depended on him, a job that barely kept the lights on, and a heart still grieving a wife he lost 2 winters ago. The sunlight poured across his face like a spotlight on a man who had run out of escape routes. That was the moment his resolve broke, and as he leaned against the doorframe, his breath shuddered with the fear of failing the one person he loved most. If viewers of Ripple of Love believe in hope, compassion, and second chances, they should like, comment, share, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us that even when life sinks us to our knees, something unexpected can still rise from the shadows to lift us up. Arvin wiped his face, forcing himself upright. The struggle of single fatherhood had carved lines across his eyes, each one a reminder of nights spent stitching broken pieces of himself back together. His son, Ryan, had left a drawing on the refrigerator door, a messy, bright scribble of the two of them holding hands, standing in front of a house with a big smiling sun. The simplicity of the drawing, the warmth of Ryan's hope-filled world, crushed Arvin with a guilt he didn't know how to swallow. Ryan trusted him blindly. Ryan believed he could fix everything. And so, Arvin did what desperate fathers do, he found a solution he didn't fully trust. A room for rent. Just one. Small. Barely furnished. But enough to bring in a little extra income. The ad had been simple: quiet home. Single dad. Looking for responsible tenant. No smoking, no noise, pay on time. He didn't expect anyone to respond, not quickly, at least. But 2 hours later, a message came. 2 college girls needed a room immediately. They were willing to pay for 2 people at once, double the rate, if he didn't mind that they were twins who preferred not to be separated. Arvin didn't know what to think. He needed the money. He needed it desperately. When they arrived, the afternoon sun dipped low across the kitchen tiles, washing everything in a golden haze that made it feel less like an ordinary day and more like the beginning of something unusual. The 2 girls stood outside the door, identical in height, posture, and expression, almost unnervingly so. They had long blonde hair tied neatly into ponytails, dressed in matching red tops and skirts, with eyes carrying a quiet tension that didn't match their youthful faces. Their names were Solen and Mara, names Arvin had never heard before, names that seemed to hold unspoken stories behind them. The twins moved with an almost synchronized stillness. They didn't talk much, only nodding politely while Arvin showed them the room. They handed him the first month's payment up front, plus extra for privacy and no questions about their past. Arvin hesitated. It was strange. Too strange. But desperation wraps itself around reason like vines around a sinking ship. He accepted the money. The first week passed quietly, almost uncomfortably so. The twins woke early, left for college, returned before evening, and stayed mostly inside their room. They cooked their own meals, cleaned their own space, and barely interacted with Arvin or Ryan except for small nods and polite smiles. Yet their eyes, there was something behind them. Something wounded. Something hiding. Arvin noticed subtle things, the way Solen flinched at loud sounds, the way Mara double-checked locks at night twice, sometimes 3 times. The faint bruising around Mara's wrist one morning, the exhaustion on Solen's face the next. He didn't ask. He reminded himself of the agreement. No questions. But one afternoon, things changed. It was a bright, quiet day. Ryan played with toy blocks in the living room while Arvin prepared lunch. The fridge door was covered with Ryan's colorful magnets and drawings, a collage of innocence in a world Arvin struggled to shield him from. As Arvin stirred soup on the stove, the sound of footsteps approached from behind. Solen stood there, holding her student ID, her breath uneven, her hands shaking. She looked at Ryan. Then at Arvin. Something inside her broke, silently, but visibly. She slid the ID across the table toward him, even though he hadn't asked for it. Arvin wasn't sure what she needed him to understand, but when his eyes shifted to the small barcode and printed name, he noticed something else. A second name listed under emergency contacts. The same as Mara's. A foster home. A facility known for troubled youth. A place infamous for mistreatment. Suddenly, the odd behaviors, the fear, the bruises, the desire to stay together, it all fit together like shards of a painful truth. Arvin didn't push her for more. He simply nodded gently and gestured for her to sit. Solen sat cautiously, like someone who had never been offered a safe seat before. Ryan approached her with his messy little drawing, placing it in front of her with the certainty only children possess. He told her it was a picture of everyone in the house, him, his dad, and the two new girls. Solen stared at it as if it were something sacred, something she had never been given before. Her eyes filled, and she blinked several times, trying not to let it spill. Later that evening, Mara approached Arvin with the same trembling fear. She apologized for taking up space. For being trouble. For existing. It stunned Arvin, how children barely older than teenagers apologized for surviving. That night, Arvin overheard them whispering in their room, voices choking on memories they were desperate to forget. The walls were thin, and the house quiet. He heard fragments, running, hiding, someone dangerous who might still be looking for them. Arvin felt something twist inside him, a blend of fear and protectiveness he hadn't expected. He realized the twins weren't strange. They were scared. They weren't mysterious. They were scarred. They weren't hiding a threat. They were escaping one. Days passed, and small cracks in their armor revealed more of who they truly were. Solen liked helping Ryan with school projects. Mara enjoyed organizing the kitchen and often left it cleaner than she found it. They both checked on Arvin when he looked tired, offering small gestures of kindness they never expected in return. The house began to feel different, less heavy, less lonely. Almost like the quiet presence of the twin girls brought pieces of healing into corners Arvin had forgotten to dust off. But peace seldom lasts without being tested. One afternoon, a car slowed outside the house. A dark, heavy vehicle with tinted windows. Mara froze at the sight through the window. Solen's breath hitched. Their past had found them. Arvin stepped in front of them instinctively. Something fierce rose inside him, the kind that only ignites when someone threatens those you've taken under your protection. The car idled, then drove away slowly, almost deliberately. The twins shook, their fear raw and uncontrollable. Arvin placed a reassuring hand between them, promising silently that they were not alone anymore. That night, for the first time, they spoke freely. Their story unfolded in hesitant breaths, years in a foster system where they were treated like burdens, not children, where they learned to survive rather than live. They ran not because they were rebels, but because someone who once controlled them wanted them back in ways no human should endure. Arvin didn't sleep. He sat awake, thinking about how fate had placed these two broken, frightened girls into his home, and how his home, in return, had become their only refuge. If this story touches your heart as it unfolds, viewers are invited once more to support it. Your love helps ripple stories of resilience, healing, and hope across the world. Before the final emotional closing, viewers are requested to comment what moment made them feel the strongest connection. In the days that followed, Arvin contacted support services quietly, people who understood how to protect vulnerable youth without dragging them back into the system blindly. Help arrived discreetly. The threat from the past faded into distance. The dark car never returned. Slowly, light replaced fear. The twins began laughing softly in the kitchen, sharing little bits of joy like shy flowers opening after winter. Ryan adored them, Arvin respected them, and the house breathed with a warmth none of them had known for a long time. And in the heart of it all, Arvin realized something profound.